Well, game week is upon us. It's always nice to have training camp and to get your young players better, develop as a team, and to go through some of the adversity we've had to go through already. But I think that helps shape your team, helps shape your personality for ball club, helps you prepare for the challenges that you're faced with along the way. You know, I think we got dealt with our fair share of things early on, obviously from some of the injuries, to guys moving around to some different positions. But the end result, I believe we're better for it, and excited to go play. I thought the guys brought a real sense of energy and enthusiasm, and a little bit of an edge to practice today. You know, we like to say the volume gets turned up on game week, and I think that was definitely evident today. Out for the ball game, obviously Jamora, Cooper, Fellner, James Johnson, Jamal Curse, Cooper Pallure. Jamora and Cooper will have surgery on Thursday. In regards to San Diego State, a great deal of respect for Rocky Long, what he's done with that program. I believe it's 17 wins over the last 2 seasons, 2 consecutive bowl games. Nice pro-style offense. We know Ryan Katz extremely well from Oregon State. Athletic kid, quick release, strong arm. Got a nice core of receivers that he has a chance to work with Lockett. Bryce Butler, transfer from SC, then the tight end Escobar. Defensively, a very attacking, aggressive style of defense. Obviously, we know they're 3-3-5 base, but they do a nice job of creating plays on that football team. And evident last year, plus 12 turnover margin. They've got a middle linebacker, 42, I believe it's Felly, and I apologize if that's not pronounced properly. The corner, McFadden, a kid we looked hard at when we first got hired, a teammate of Keith Price and Will Schamberger. So all that being said, I think what's going to be key for us is that we remain who we are, to stay aggressive, to stay multiple, and have a game plan that's conducive to our entire roster. That's veterans and young guys included. And do it with a real sense of urgency, and I believe that we can.
If there's anybody on the conference line who would like to ask a question, please state your name and ask your question.
Yes, this is Vic Robbins from Rodon. She kind of ran through that injury list kind of fast. Could you repeat that? The guys who are up for
Jamora, Cooper, Fellner, Johnson, Curse, and Pallure.
Okay, thanks.
Anybody else from the conference line? All right, we'll take questions from the folks who are here in person.
How much does it help, having seen Ryan Katz before, how much does it help prepare?
I mean, we know that he's good. You know, I guess it would be the unknown, can the guy play or not? We know that Ryan Katz is a capable quarterback. He won games in the Pacific 12 Conference, tight ball games. His ability to really throw the deep ball extremely well, which is what they like to do in their offense. He's got a quick release, and he's athletic. I mean, outside of that, they have an offensive system that's conducive to that type of quarterback. Probably a good decision for Ryan to do what he did, to go down there. I think he fits well.
How much is your quarterback grown from, say, last year this time when you're talking to right now?
Well, I think we know what to expect out of him. You know, last year there was a bit of the unknown. I think for myself, calling the plays, I know who he is. I know what he does well. I know when he's struggling, the type of things I need to get him doing to get him right, to get him back. I know that we won't be nearly as conservative this year, the first game around, as we were last year. You know, we'll do some things that hopefully give us a chance to take some shots down the field, but also not force things down the field when they aren't there, and to get out of some bad plays and things like that. And we're going to need to be able to do that. San Diego State has got a multitude of fronts on defense. They do a nice job of pressuring the quarterback, a lot of line game stunts, pressures, and so this is a big game for Keith in recognizing those pressures and not falling prey to some of the disguising that they do, and really be focused and still keeping the tempo and the sense of urgency that we need.
You talk about your defense and the improvement. Do you think that those guys have a kind of a bigger chip on their shoulder, something to prove after what happened last year? And what have you seen from them?
I think they went through the offseason with that. I think the reality of it is that I think they want to play well. You know, I don't know if it's about proving anybody wrong or right or you know, I think they've got great rapport amongst one another. I think they really respect their coaches and the new style of defense that we've inherited. at the end of that, I think they want to play well and for themselves and for our football program, for the university, for our fans. I'm sure there's a bit of a chip on the shoulder because they feel like they're better than they were last year. But man, our program's not about what just happened to us. It's about where are we going and what are we doing. And I think that's been the focus. And if we get a little added incentive because they feel like they have something to prove, then I guess that it is what it is.
You touched on it there, but what are some of the other challenging aspects of their defense, the 3-3-5, and is that?
I think from an identification standpoint, that can be challenging because you can't worry about the numbers. They got guys moving around, playing different spots. A guy might be free safety one snap, and the next snap he's blitzing off the edge, and so they can cause some hesitation for you if you're not really locked in and keyed into what you need to be doing. The aggressive nature in that they when they rush the passer, they rush with a purpose. They really try to get to the quarterback, and they can create errant throws and in turn create turnovers, and that's what they were able to do last season.
Steve, what's it say about John Timu, all he's been through for these last 3 years, injuries and whatnot, he's the captain and sophomore?
Well, I think for John is he's a really mature guy, and sometimes he doesn't show as much emotion as maybe we would all like. But that calming effect that he has, I think, is why he's been able to persevere so much in his own personal life with some of the injuries and things, and also maybe through some of the tough times defensively for us last year. Or maybe he didn't play his best football either. So his maturity, his calming effect that he has, I think, has helped not only himself but a lot of other guys on that side of the ball and us as coaches. And in turn, there's some natural leadership that comes out of him that guys really recognize. And I think it speaks volumes to the maturity, again, that he possesses.
How do you see the quarterback in him on defense?
Just the checks. We're a defense that relies on communication. And that's why I like our defense. We don't just have one static call. We adjust to what you're doing. And it takes a real guy handling the front and a guy in the back end making those checks, and obviously that's John Timu up front on for us, and then Sean Parker in the back end. So two key ingredients to our success on the defensive side of the ball.
Coach, you talk about the split carries or running back. Do you kind of have a set percentage that you're looking at, or just ride the hot back?
They're going to get series. They're going to get carries by series, and you're going to see 24 and 25. If I feel like a guy might be laboring, you'll see the other guy jump in. You're going to see them on the field together. I think we've got a good plan in place for both those kids, and hopefully put them in position to do what they do to be successful. And then we'll get a better feel for them as the game goes on as well. Who can carry the ball 3 or 4 times in a row, and what does their body language look like? How do they carry the ball? What does their burst look like? And so that'll be key for us in our evaluation of them being every down players, which is something they've been a little bit limited in doing the first year for Bishop, the first couple of years for Jesse.
What are the different strengths that you're seeing in practice?
Well, I don't want to disclose too much of that. They're very similar, quite honestly. They both are complete backs. I think sometimes because they're not 220 pounds, they get labeled as, they're scat backs. They run with power. They get behind their pads. They're excellent pass protectors. Very high football IQs for both of them, and both have the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. So I don't think they're one-dimensional. They almost look alike at times in their stature on the field, and maybe just the 4 and the 5 separates them. So we'll see what it looks like on game day.
Steve, you listed both Siler and Derek as backup. Is that kind of the situation depends on who plays, or do you want to have a guy?
I want them to keep battling and keep competing. I think sometimes a guy can be labeled a backup and he prepares like a backup, and so I want these guys to continually to battle, to compete. I think that they've earned the opportunity to potentially be that guy, and this just kind of hopefully leaves a nugget out there for both of them to keep battling, to keep competing, to keep their nose in the playbook and stay locked into this thing.
You mentioned Sean Parker earlier. How important is he to your defense?
Very important. Sean's a great leader. Again, a very mature young man, a guy in his 3rd year with us. Very bright, has changed his body immensely. He came in, a kid who, I don't know if he understood the real dedication it took in the weight room and in the off season. And now looks great, looks fast, playmaker all training camp long. Interception after interception. He was making them, and so he's a big factor for us. We need him for sure.
What did things plug in for him?
I'd like to think by this spring, new system, new scheme. I think Keith Hayward has done a great job in coaching Sean and teaching Sean and teaching him from a cerebral standpoint. It's not about want to, Sean. He wants to be a special player, but he's getting taught a very cool way that's just pushing the right buttons for him right now.
How excited are you to see the freshman, Taylor and Mays?
Well, hopefully I'm excited. You never know. They're freshmen, and they've earned this right to start and to play. They've had a tremendous fall camp, and big play after big play. But again, with freshmen, we're going to have to go through some growing pains. They're going to line up wrong a couple times Saturday night, and they might drop a pass, they might run a wrong route, but we got to be able to continually bring them along because their big play potential makes us different offensively, and it's something that we want to become. We want to be more of a big play offense, one that can get yards and chunks, and those two guys provide that for us. And so I'm excited for the big plays, and I'm a little bit reserved on, I know, some of the mistakes that could occur Saturday night.
Steve, what's the best case scenario for Howley as far as coming back? Is there any?
I don't know. All this stuff with injuries are injuries, and everybody wants a percentage of when a guy's back. I don't know. I know that he's unable to perform right now. Hopefully we can get some really good information out of Thursday that whether it's for this year or as we move forward for his future, for his career, I know we sorely miss him, and not only for what he brings as a playmaker on our field right now, but a real leader up front on our defensive line, and so we'll see how it goes.
Other than throwing the ball downfield more, are there any other lessons from last year's season opener you can apply to kind of game preparation or your game plan this year?
Well, I don't know necessarily if we're going to throw it down the field more. I don't want to make that statement that that's what we're going to do more. What I think we can bring, that these two guys can bring, is when they catch balls, they can create bigger plays with the separation that they can get on the defensive backs or on a linebacker, whoever that may be. From a game planning standpoint, it's understanding who your playmakers are and how are we going to get them involved in the game so that they feel in the ball game. And obviously that's Austin, that's Kaysen, that's Jadon, that's Kendall, that's the two backs. When before last year, that was Jermaine, that was Devin, and how are those guys getting involved? So that's how we change. We're going to run what we run. I don't think that's a real secret. We've got an offense in place that we believe in, that's withstood the test of time. There's always going to be some wrinkles here and there that we're going to implement to hopefully keep the defense guessing a bit, but we're going to run what we run.
Sorry, for all the change this offseason, it seems like there's still a continuity in terms of what you're building. Was that important to you, and how were you able to kind of establish that?
Well, hopefully it's a consistent message for me, that what the players are hearing from me is one that hasn't wavered from the day I arrived until this morning's team meeting. We have some hard and fast beliefs that we live by, and now I feel like we really have the leaders in place that have been hearing the same consistent message for now into their fourth year, and now that messaging can be reiterated in the locker room without a coach even having to say it. And so to continue that, we had to get these new coaches to buy into some of those philosophies as well. But hopefully the real messaging and the beliefs and the philosophies that we live by are consistent for me, and that the guys know that I'm not wavering, and they don't need to waver off of those.
Steve, with the whole battery from snapping, holding, kicking, and punting, what's your take on what you've seen?
I feel good. Travis had an excellent day this morning again. Corey has had his best week of training camp was this last week. Took him maybe a little longer than Travis in getting his comfort level right back there. Corey had an excellent week punting the ball. Had another great one today. So I feel much better today than I did probably 2 weeks ago when I was a bit uneasy about it. But again, first time a guy going back, first time a guy snapping, I'll be probably as watching as closely as anybody else to see how we respond in the moment.
And kickoffs?
I feel good. The new rule, is one that you have to live by the rules, and I think there's some intricacies that you can live within the rules to still be effective covering kicks. We've got some good guys running down to cover those kicks, and so I think we'll be effective there. And then the return game, I like what we brought. I like some of our new faces that are back there returning some kicks, and some of the older faces as we've started to gradually work them back in now. The second half of training camp look good as well.
Steve, what did Trey Watson do to separate himself?
Just keeps making plays. You know, it's hard to deny a guy that just makes plays. You know, that even when he might get beat, has the ability to punch the ball out, and he does it. It's a knack that he has that is unique to him. And not that Ducre and Marcus didn't have good camps, and you're going to see them play. I just think Trey had a really good training camp. Now, the goal for him and for us is to carry that right over to the game day and not change, and we'll see how that goes Saturday. Well, I mean, in general, I can give you the ones that I know for sure are going to play. And as the season goes on, things change. You know, I know that Corey Durkee's going to punt. I know Shaq Thompson's going to play. I know Jadon Mickens is going to play. I know Kendall Taylor's going to play. I know Pio Monteve is going to play. Those 5, I can assure you, are going to play. The rest of them, time will tell. You know, as they develop, as we get an assessment of our team through game 1, as injuries could occur, things can change. I'm a realist that way, but as of right now, 5 guys will play.
Both Perkins and Wilkins available to play?
Say that again.
Are both Perkins and Willis available to play?
Yes.
You've gone to CenturyLink a few times, but is there, now that you're going there for every game, is there much of a change with that in any way at all?
Well, I think that for the biggest change for me that I'm hopeful is this is the second time now our fans get to go, and their comfort level. You know, we looked up the stat today. There's been 111 false starts since 2005 for the Seahawks in that stadium against their opponents. And I'd like to think that we can kind of reap the benefits of that as well. You know, that as our fans get comfortable with the tailgating and what time to get into the game and where their seats are and all that, that we can kind of feed off of that crowd noise as well. And I think that's the biggest change for us. For our guys, they've been in that locker room now 4 times, I think it is, and you know, once they get on that sideline and get going, I think they're fine. I want to make sure our fans are there and fired up, and we're utilizing the home field advantage in a place at a place where it can be utilized.
Anything else? All right, we'll presumably bring Keith up here in a bit, but for the time being.